The system has, oh, there we go, we're live. Hello and welcome to another Facebook Live. While everyone logs on and starts getting this, really excited to have you on today, Paul. How's things down in Melbourne?
Yeah, thanks, Nick. Great opportunity to join, obviously, the live broadcast. And yeah, look, Melbourne's interesting. At least the sun's out today. There's a little bit of light at the end of the day. We're getting some dribs and drabs of news that hopefully will be coming out of this pretty soon. I think it's affecting a lot of people sort of mentally as well. And I think that's the big danger moving forward. You know, I feel pretty good. You know, I'm pretty positive about a lot of different things, but you know, you hear sort of different things. Even yesterday on the news, them talking about, you know, kids and the amount of kids that are now calling helpline and trying to harm themselves. So that sort of stuff has a bit of effect on you, and especially when you've got 3 boys, it does affect you a little bit, and you want to sort of make sure that they're okay.
Yeah, it's a bit challenging. I'm up in Queensland, obviously, on the beautiful Gold Coast. Weather's perfect. You know, we've been living somewhat normal for the whole time, really. So It is challenging. And one wonderful, I'll give a shout out to Xero. They brought out a mental health course that's available to everyone in the industry, which is absolutely amazing. So I think they announced that yesterday. But Paul, today we are here to talk about understanding client needs. Look, this is a topic that I absolutely love. But for anyone that doesn't know who Paul Jansz is, tell us a little bit about who are you and what's your involvement in the wonderful accounting space that we both serve?
Yeah, that's a good question, I suppose. How far do I go back? I'll try not to go too far back, but I started my career in the sporting magazine division, working for Kerry Packer. I moved to the accounting industry around 1999 from memory. Started working for a large accounting firm with a large financial planning division, and they had a BD division. And that BD division was there to work with a lot of different accounting firms to bring systems, processes and support. And I ran the Victorian division and the Tasmanian division. Head office, funnily enough, was up in Brisbane. And the idea was to work with accounting firms to help them assist their clients. And so we trained a lot of different accounting firms. From there, I moved to another fairly large firm here in Hawthorn in Melbourne. They had a large contracting division. I managed their contract division. That took me to London. So I had the opportunity to go and work with a lot of different businesses over in the UK as well. And in 2004, I came back to run my own coaching and training company. You know, that was called GPL back then, the GPL network. It stood for Growth, Profit, Liquidity. They were the 3 areas that we focused on with accounting firms. And I suppose sort of 2006, 2007, we were really good at going and asking our firms what they want more of, going and researching their clients and asking them what they want more of. And that probably gave us an opportunity to look at the G in our business model, which was growth. And how can we help accounting firms to grow? How can we help their clients to grow? What's the value proposition? All these little things that came up. And I suppose back then when we did that, I still remember we took probably 35 firms over to Threadbow to unveil the research that we had conducted over like a 6 to 8 month period. And a lot of different opportunities came out. One of them that we thought was missing within the accounting industry was firms' clients were asking for something a little bit different apart from financial planning. You know, financial planning was the only way that they could get access to investments. So the opportunity arose its head, and we sort of tossed around a lot of things around, is there an opportunity there to create almost like a private equity offering for the industry, and how we go about obviously de-risking that in terms of, you know, PIs and AFSLs and all those sorts of things. And that's what we ended up creating. And I suppose you fast forward to today, where we sit here on, it's the 1st of October. We sit here on October 1, and, you know, we're doing that now. So we'd like to believe that, you know, C2 Capital and what the division that I manage, which is the professional partners division, we've brought something a little bit different to the accounting industry, where, you know, their clients are shouting out for just things that are a little bit different in terms of investment landscape in the alternate space. And that's what we've been able to do. You know, only yesterday, you know, I think savings rates were announced where, again, if we've got money in the bank, it's probably costing you money. I think our saving rates are now 0.6% or something. So Therefore, people are asking for, if you've got cash sitting in super funds or you've got cash sitting in banks, what other options do I have? And we've been able to bring that proactive model to firms. And obviously, we're working with firms around Australia at the moment.
Yeah, really interesting. I mean, my background was traditionally financial planning. I was a chartered financial planner. I then bought an accounting firm, and then it evolved to obviously building an outsourcing company, which is what we've done today. But my passion was really about helping people to grow their wealth and understanding their financials. And I think that's a real big challenge in itself. But, one of the challenges we always had, which is one of the reasons why I ended up buying an accounting practice, is the accountants are the trusted advisor. So, and it's not just the business. I mean, the business is the mechanism to drive everything else. So I love that side of it. When you look at, I suppose, why you've set up what you have for the accounting industry, and I really love what I think it's fresh and vibrant, what you've been able to really do during COVID and bring the community together in the accounting space. So what is, I mean, you mentioned your role, but I've seen a lot of events that you're running. I've seen a lot of activity. We were talking earlier about a live show that you're doing with Mr. Famous, Jason Cunningham. Now, what, I suppose, have you created and what's the purpose of it?
Yeah, look, so that's a really good question. I suppose it took us back into what are we wanting to do that's a little bit different within the space. And I suppose we saw it as an educational platform. We thought if we can just bring thoughts, ideas, and the great thing about people like, we call him Cunners, Jason Cunningham back there, he said, PJ, why don't we just get together? And some of the great things we used to do back in the GPL days, we used to run big conferences and we used to go across to Fiji and we used to take 200 firms over here and 200 firms over there. And it was a really, really close-knit network of sharing ideas. How do we continue to do that? How can we just bring that back in? And I know a lot of firms say that to me all the time. I would love to go, those days back then we were doing that, they were so good. And that's what we're looking to replicate now. So under the Professional Partners Network, we are looking to do that. Now, there's going to be all sorts of different, call it educational things we're going to roll out next year in 2021. But I suppose what we've looked to do is to educate the industry into what is alternates. How can you start having a different conversation with your clients? And I suppose there's been a lot of different industries that have gone down that road. We believe we can always be a value add to the industry. And you mentioned, the financial planning industry, and we work with a lot of financial planners as well, where, they can't provide advice. We provide the advice on the alternate side, and their clients love it, just adding something a little bit different to their portfolio. So again, it's all about what value that we can bring to the clients of the accounting firm. And that's what the accountants are loving with what we're doing at the moment, where, they'll advise on the best tax advice, and we can just provide something a little bit different. And we call it sharing opportunities. And it's just about what can we do in this marketplace to just share different opportunities that may be available to individuals that are looking for something a little bit different to get a better or above average return. Yeah. I suppose anyone can get above, 3% at the moment to be pretty happy with.
So I'm going to be honest here. Back in my financial planning days, we were really focused around more cash flow modeling for individuals, understanding their financials. We were pretty, I don't know if conservative is the word, boring might be the other. We were an index fund. We were like literally put it in index, let it go. So yeah. I know that's like, I call it the lazy way of investing. What is the benefit, and are there other people like you serving the accounting industry doing what you do? So what is I suppose, the lazy man's way versus obviously what you've got access to, and what's the benefit to the accounting industry? Because I'd assume there's not too many other people, I haven't seen anyone else like what you guys do serving the accounting industry. Am I wrong, right?
Well, there's probably a couple doing it, and I suppose we gather more intelligence, let's call it, from chatting to accountants. I was with a prior to COVID where we were stuck at home and we can't do anything. But I think earlier this year I was with a firm out of Box Hill, and they suggested, look, we've got this other group that's doing things at the moment. What's the major difference between what you guys are doing and what they're doing? And when I looked at their, let's call it their marketing material, they were building high-rise commercial office buildings. Now, that's not what we do. So we primarily purchase land. We primarily purchase land in growth pockets, mainly in Melbourne at the moment. So we've got different sorts of, and we look to then build commercial, and then put in, we focus on in industries like aged care, childcare, or healthcare. A lot of what we've focused on is healthcare. C2 have also gone around building their own healthcare brand, which is called Umbrella Health. So again, they've been successful in, in effectively being a tenant. If we're going to build something and we're looking for a tenant, why not do our own primary healthcare brand? So the idea of that, and what I liked about what C2 was doing when I first came into the business, call it 2 years ago, it was it's the land component, and that's the asset component that sits on the balance sheet. So again, when we're talking to accounting firms, that's a key component. Nobody else owns the asset. C2 Capital owns the asset, and we know that land appreciates and buildings tend to depreciate. So again, it's one of those key areas where we've then offered investors, what investors liked, and we've continued to do this, is call it a fixed term and a fixed return. And that's been really important to a lot of our current investors, where most people want to know when you can get in and get out. So whether it's a 12-month term or an 18-month term or a 24-month term, whether it's an 8% return or whether it's a 10% return, that's all up to the individual to choose what will best suit their portfolio.
So Paul, coming from obviously my background has probably given me too much knowledge in some aspects. So one of the challenges we always had with just trying to even work with accountants to get them to recommend for simple things like cash flow forecasting of the individuals, and insurance planning, and retirement planning, and all the wonderful things that as a financial planner we did. I suppose, what's the true value to an accountant? What's the benefit of an accountant partnering with you? Because I think that, my initial thing would be some may struggle with even bringing this conversation up with the clients. So how do you actually partner with an accounting firm and then, I suppose, really add value to their clients' needs?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think what we've been able to do is proactively go to a lot of firms, and the firms tell us they've got clients that are asking them for opportunities outside what they're already getting access to. They tell us, look, our clients are picking up the paper, and the paper says people are looking for greater returns people are turning to alternative assets. But what is an alternative asset? They're more likely to look at, like obviously in Australia, it's probably the banks. If you look outside that, it's usually tech stocks. So, that's what, then a lot of people can't even, it's difficult to go and look at a tech stock, Apple or a Facebook or an Amazon. It's difficult for Australians to invest in those sorts of things. So what can they invest in here? What can they be a part of here? We look to be a part of that value chain. And that's how we've approached this in terms of working with the accounting firm. What we've found is that a lot of the times the individuals are looking for something different. We're not, as the firms always tell us as well, our minimum investment is anywhere between $50,000 to $100,000. So we're not talking sheep stations, their language. And the fact is that they can get in, they can dip their toe in the water and see if it's something that they like and they can be a part of. And that's probably where we've been able to add that value. The work then comes back to the accounting firm, to call it their core work, where it comes back to them because they then want to know what's going to be the best structure for me to invest in. Should it be my personal name? Should it be my self-managed super fund? Should it be a new family trust? And we've found that then brings in new core work, because that's where the firm can advise on the best tax outcome. So which is great, because then it just allows them to add greater value and have that conversation. I think more and more firms are having that conversation with clients around, whether you're looking at that individual looking to become that high net worth individual, or the business to create more profit to become that, call it that family office. What is it? And I think more and more proactive firms are doing that, and we're just adding a little bit of value to what they are doing.
And I love that. And if anyone on today's Facebook Live, or our lives that we're going across multiple platforms, has any questions, chuck them into the comments box and we'll try and answer. If you're listening to this after the recording, we will watch your comments and we will try and respond. But Paul, I have a question around, I suppose, the understanding the client needs, which is what the topic theme of today is. And one of the challenges, I think, that some accounting firm owners have really deep relationships with their clients, and others don't have a real depth of, I suppose, understanding other than doing the compliance type work. How would an accountant, I suppose, even build in these types of conversations with their clients, and to the point where they're looking at, I suppose, the bigger picture of the client's life as opposed to just the company work that they're doing or the individual tax returns, etc.
Yeah, again, another really good question, and I suppose that's where, if I look back to what we did in 06, 07 with GPL, we took on that discovery. It's really difficult for the firms, because one of the things that we hear all the time with firms is time. And at the moment, it's unfortunately for the accounting industry, and I really do feel for the firms, and very empathetic to that, is that they need to react to things that happen because the government changes. And they don't have a choice with that. Us as individuals or businesses, we need to lodge returns. The government comes out with things like STP. We need to change. Yeah, okay, we might get another 12 months repeat, but at the end of the day, you've still got to go into single tax payroll. Or JobKeeper comes out, or JobSeeker comes out, or all these changes that are supposed to be quite simple, but the only people that they turn to is the trusted advisor, which is their accountant. So therefore, and it's not just a one-off, as we see with all these changes. There's monthly things that need to happen within the firm. I believe the best thing to do is to outsource that. Is to bring in a consultant to do research. If the firm is not having the time to get out there and chat to their clients and work out if it's an industry, we talk to a lot of different firms that may be focusing on the hospitality industry or the tourism industry. Both have been probably decimated, but there are ways to have that conversation around how do you start pivoting into new areas. So I would certainly recommend that if you don't have the opportunity to do that yourself, again, bring in that expertise to do it for you, because that will uncover the opportunities that exist. And there's opportunities everywhere. It just depends whether you want to search for them or you want to just bury your head in the sand. And we know that it is hard because the expectations of clients are greater, and they need to see the value in that as well. So it's always a difficult one.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with that. And look, the one thing that I do really hope gets up by the government do introduce, is what the industry bodies have obviously rallied for and was in the media yesterday about actually providing a payment to help the Australian businesses actually get advice from their accountants, up to $5,000, I think it was. But I think that's a great initiative for the industry. I think it's probably a bit overdue, a bit late, but it's better late than never. But I think from an industry point of view, an amazing opportunity for the industry to be able to get in front of more small businesses and add value during these quite challenging times. So if we look at understanding the client needs and then bringing you in to help with that as a specialist, I suppose, what's the accountants are not thinking? I mean, at the moment they're absolutely under the pump. I mean, JobKeeper, JobSeeker. I mean, they're. I mean, for people in Victoria and Melbourne particularly, you're stuck at home. It's a challenging time, mentally, physically, emotionally. How can an accountant, I suppose, even put this into the bandwidth of the alternative investments to a degree? How do they get involved in your community? Just start being involved and getting the support of other people who are within your network. I mean, the events that you're running are phenomenal. I've been watching them, I've seen them, and we mentioned the one with Cunners before. You're doing that live show. What other events are you doing on a weekly, monthly basis that people can just get involved in to be part of the community, and then over time, obviously, when they're ready, have those conversations with you and the team?
Yeah, look, we started this probably back in March. We had these this thought process that we wanted to do it live, and then of course we went into lockdown and we thought, no, let's do it virtual. We didn't think we'd still be sitting here 6 months later doing virtual shit, but geez, it's quite amazing that we are. But they've gathered momentum. So we run this virtual lunch every fortnight Friday. That's a mouthful. So every Friday fortnight. And we've just got a different guest. So we tend to interview a different person every single fortnight. And we talk about, again, issues that they're facing that we can share. And it's not about it's very collaborative. It's very let's take some points. Let's get some feedback. We want that interaction. We've turned into a bit of a wine. So it's all about bringing a wine. And I've got my cup of tea today, but it is only 10 a.m. If I turned up with a wine, I'd have a problem.
And it's not a Friday yet, it's only a Thursday.
Yeah, right. But it's funny how 12 o'clock you turn up with a glass of red and it tends to relax you a little bit for a Friday. It turned into a really good discussion. From that, we've leveraged into the monthly show with Jason, which is Chewing the Accounting Fat. We brainstormed that title over about a minute, I think, and that's how we came up with that one. But it's just allowed, again, another way for firms to get involved. The Professional Partners Network continues to grow. The firms that we've got associated that are working with us right now are fantastic. There's sort of more and more that are finding out more of what we're doing and how we can just add value, because at the same time, we don't charge, so we don't cost a firm 1 cent. We don't charge the investor 1 cent. And there's not too many platforms out there that provide that sort of level of service. I've got no doubt as we continue to grow and the demand continues to grow, that's something that I know, Sam and I have looked at in particular, and how we can, for certain things we're going to have to charge for. But right now, if you wanted to be a part of our lunches, it's free. If you wanted to join as a professional partner firm and see what we can do and how we interact with your clients, and it's more what we've created has been, again, I've been very clear in going out and asking your clients' needs. What are they looking for and what do your clients want? I call it my Richard Branson theory. Sort of Branson was very good at coming out, and I'm a big believer in him. His book's behind me here, and just go out and find out what people want. And it's not worth creating a business model that people won't buy, because we think it's fantastic. It's our brainchild. We want to go out there and sell something. But if people don't buy it, it means nothing. So you've got to create something that the market wants and the market needs, and therefore building that brand trust, people trust, and then people will see what are other people doing. And I think that's the great thing of what we've been able to do at the Professional Partners is, what this started off to be maybe 18 months ago, it's evolved and evolved and evolved, because so many firms have given us feedback to, can you do this? And can you do that? And I don't really have time for that. Can you guys do that as well? And we just go, yes, yes, yes. And then we try and work out a way to do it. But that's how we've created an integrated business model that just adds value to the firm, and the firms really enjoy what we're doing as well. So that's what it's about as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, just constant research. And I think the more you can do that, and that's probably why, we've got this. I know there's a lot of different businesses out there that say built by accountants for accountants or whatever it may be. And you see the taglines, you go, yeah, that's similar to ours. But it is true. We're constantly taking feedback from accounting firms to what we can do better for them, and which will then be reflective of their service to their clients.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I love the whole community aspect. I think, that's one of the big things that we're trying to build at TAR, and these events are part of it, that education to our community and trying to build that peer-to-peer learning. I mean, you and I can talk all day about what they, accountants should do, and I owned an accounting firm, so I can technically talk from authority, but I haven't done it for 5 years. Yeah. And even when I did own it, I didn't work in it doing tax returns. I've never done a tax return. So I think the benefit is that, having a group of peers together that can share and collaborate on the experiences. And I spoke with Trent from Teach It Forward a couple of weeks ago on one of these about that whole thing about the community and peer-to-peer learning and, being able to lean on each other during these times. So for anyone wanting to learn more about coming to one of your events, we're going to have to wrap up shortly, but what's the best way for anyone to be able to reach out to you and find out about these events you do with both Jason Cunningham, that monthly one, Chewing the Fat, love the topic, or the fortnightly lunches that you do? How can where do they go to find out more?
Yeah, look, the best place would be go to check out our LinkedIn page, either Paul Jansz on LinkedIn or the Professional Partners. We've got a separate page set up there for all of our firms as well, and we release a lot of different content. Look, we've been, again, I've probably been lucky enough. I did an interview earlier was yesterday. Today's Thursday, yesterday, with the CEO of Reckon. Again, just the ability to chat to Sam. Sam's such a great guy.
Loves it. Great guy.
Great guy. So sometimes I feel very privileged to be able to chat to these guys, and that's the podcast, that's called Talking Numbers. So again, just to share the experiences that they've gone through, and you're talking about, again, very open, and that's how we just learn. So, but if you want to check us out, jumped onto LinkedIn, Paul Jansz, there's my name at the bottom there, or the Professional Partners. Check us out. our events are always there. Again, they're free. I think our next event, funnily enough, I think I'm with you next week.
Lucky enough to be on it.
Exactly. And we're talking about, again, sharing stories about how you're going global. So I think where businesses, even if businesses don't want to go global, it's great to have the mindset to go global. And, you know, I spoke to Amanda Canafake from Power Tynan a few weeks ago, and, you know, they've got a firm in Toowoomba, but they've got clients all over Australia. How do you develop that model? And technology allows us to do that now. So I think that's a great thing, where people think they just need to stay within their postcode bubble or the state. And the fact is you don't. I spoke to Rob Nixon the other day.
Can I just add one story before that? Our CEO, Craig, went surfing with an accountant on the Gold Coast, and she runs a business that is in the US and Australia. That's the business. It's not an Australian business. It's a global business. Correct. And I was amazed. And I'm like, hang on. But I know you're just about to say something about a good friend of ours, Rob Nixon.
Yeah, exactly. I had a great chat to Robbo the other day. You know, it was, again, you look at what he's been able to do, and he reeled off these. He goes, Jansz, mate, I'm working with firms in the US, Canada, UK. And then he reeled off the Netherlands. And I said, what? The Netherlands? And he goes, yeah, well, you know, throw it out there and see what happens. And you end up, again, the opportunities to doing things nowadays. And, you know, again, he's been a great friend of ours. He's been an enormous value added to the industry. And, yeah, so, again, it's about opening our mindsets. And that's the educational part and these sorts of things that I really love, because it's that opportunity to just continually share that information with firms. And if, you know, what I always, you know, my motto is to try and learn one thing new every day. And if I can do that and take that away and apply that, that's going to make me a better person tomorrow. So that's what I live by.
Love it, mate. Love it. So we better wrap up. We're coming up to half an hour, but mate, this has been an absolutely awesome conversation. I really enjoy having these with you. I've certainly learned something just from our short time today. So, mate, looking forward to being part of the event next week. We've put in the comments for anyone watching this on Facebook or LinkedIn or even YouTube. It's in the comments, the link to Paul's and the Professional Partners Network. Check it out. I love the events. I love what you're doing for the community. Thank you for your time today, mate. Really looking forward to continuing the conversations in the future.
Thank you very much, and it's a pleasure. Thanks for everything, and talk to you soon.
Thanks, Paul. Cheers.